welcome to the Kenney Show. This is the place where we take a no bullshit look at life's little lessons. Here, together, we find the spiritual glory in even the most wicked hard story. This is a journey from fear back to love and how we can find our greatest strength and happiness in some of the most unlikely places. I believe that if you're willing to change your mind, you can totally change your life. So, are you ready to rewrite your story and choose to live free? Let's do this. Hey, you guys. Welcome. Episode 24. I think that's right. Episode 24. I'm going to go with it. The Kenney Show. I'm kind of excited today because this is something that's been on my mind. I've talked about this a lot in the past, but I think this is my first time bringing up the subject of social media with you guys here on the show. So I want to dive into today's topic. Today's title is social media and self-worth. Social media and self-worth, and what do these two suckers have to do with each other? If it was up to me, they'd have absolutely nothing to do with each other, but that's not the case. And that's why I wanted to drop on here and have a little conversation with you beautiful people about this subject. So I wrote down a bunch of notes because, look, when there are things that I'm wicked passionate about, sometimes I can go down the rabbit hole. I can get a little distracted and I have to be like, and we're back like 1,000 times. So if you're watching the show, you might see me access some notes. Otherwise, if you just listen, you don't even know sometimes that I might have a little bit of notes in front of me. So I like to do everything unscripted. It's so funny because when my gal that helps me with my podcast, sometimes she'll, when I get my transcripts back or see the show notes, I'm like, what? I said that? Like, I don't even remember half the time, like what the fuck is coming out of my mouth, because it's kind of stream of consciousness and I'm kind of in the moment. So if there's something that I really want to make sure I hit some points and I say what I need to say, then I make a few notes. Oh my God, I cannot stop touching my nose. I don't know, all of a sudden it's running when I'm up here in my closet. So sorry for being a little weirdo for those of you that are YouTubing this sucker. Okay, so here's what I think. I think a lot of people suffer from what I'll just call, in air quotes, social media syndrome. And what I mean by that is they let social media, right? And whether you consider that Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, just whenever you're putting yourself out there in a social way, YouTube, making videos, Facebook Lives, doing a post, like whatever the thing is, unfortunately, a lot of people, their self-worth and their sense of security, their inner security, right? It rises and falls based on their social media stats, okay? So they've in their mind have written what I call, they have a bunch of BS around this, a bunch of BS, which really for me stands for beliefs and stories. It also stands for obviously bullshit, right? But it also stands for beliefs and stories in my world, right? That's how I think about it. So their self-worth and their self-security, their sense of self gets affected, is the word I'm looking for. It gets affected by the social media stats. So they post something. It could be a picture. It could be a story. It could be a thing. I'm announcing that I'm doing this course and I'm inviting people into my program and da 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 da. And then it doesn't get the reaction or the response or the feedback that they want. Then all of a sudden, this thing that they were so excited about, right? All of a sudden, they'll start to get like iffy or insecure about it, right? Or they'll start to feel bad about themselves because other people are not reacting or responding the way that they had hoped. And, you know, I've heard Gary Vee talk about this one time before. He said something like people will start to like self-edit. And I see it all the time. Like people won't post something because they're afraid it's not going to get the reaction that they want. And to me, it's like, I don't know, like I use social media. And I was telling a friend yesterday, if I didn't have a business, if I wasn't somebody who use social media to, I'm going to talk about what I really use it for, but also having a business in this day and age you do feel like sometimes that you have to have some kind of social media presence. Now, I know long-standing businesses that aren't online at all. I know famous writers who aren't online at all. And it's, well, I won't say at all, like they have a website or maybe somebody else does a Facebook page for them, but they've never tweeted, they've never like text message. Like there are a lot of people, but they came to their fame and they came to their expertise and they came to their well-being known the old-fashioned way. So they kind of became, for lack of a better word, quote unquote, famous before the internet, right? So sometimes we're dealing with a little bit different things, but most people, if they have a business, they feel like they have to be on these platforms, that they have to be on these things. And I don't like anybody or anything telling me what I have to do, right? I don't like feeling like I have to do this thing in order for me to be successful. So here's how I like to think about social media. Social media is a way for me to self-express. So it's not that social media, like social media to me is a tool. It was designed to be a tool. And it's supposed to be designed to be a tool that helps us to connect with one another. So if I'm trying to connect with another human being, what I want to do is to show up as myself. I don't want to show up as what I think you might like. I don't want to strategize and manipulate my message, my post, my whatever, in hopes, fingers crossed, you'll like me, right? It's not that. I want to fully self-express what I think, what I feel, what moves me, what excites me, what pisses me off. Like, and, you know, to use social media as a tool of self-expression, as a way to connect, right? Tolstoy says, you know, the purpose of AIT is transferring one feeling from one heart to another. To have artist and the observer of the art to dissolve the separation between the two, right? And I think that social media can be used as a tool to self-express and to connect. However, the way that most people use it and abuse it and feel abused by it is that they actually don't use it as a tool so much to connect. But I won't say that. In fairness, I think that some people, a lot of people maybe use it to genuinely connect, but a lot of people also succumb to kind of the dark side, right? The dark side of social media. And they start to use it rather than to share content to connect. They look at everybody else's content and they do it to compete and compare, which totally undermines the purpose of connection, because when you start to compete and compare, all you're going to fucking feel is separated. All you're going to feel is either superior, better than, other, or you're going to feel inferior, right? Less than, also other, right? So it's all about how you're using social media. Like social media, unfortunately, also, let's call spade a spade, was designed by the creators to be addictive. We got played. We were a bunch of suckers. So they released all these platforms and we gobbled them up. And if you've ever, like for some people, it's not a problem, but for most people I know, it's become a compulsion. They can't not check their phone. They can't not go on Instagram. They can't not go on Facebook. They can't not check Snapchat or whatever the friggin' things they're using, right? So they designed it specifically to make you addicted so that you would keep using their platforms for all kinds of various means, and we gobbled it up. Now, for me, I like to push back against the patriarchy. I like to push back against people trying to manipulate me. So one of the things I say to people is, you know, social media was designed to be a tool, but if you're letting social media dictate to you how you feel about yourself, then you've become a fucking tool. What we mean by that, for some of you youngsters, back in the old day when we would say, oh my God, that dude is such a tool, right? One slang for that is penis, but really the other slang for that is somebody who's being used, somebody who's being manipulated, right? That dude is such a fucking tool. So if we're letting social media dictate to us how we feel about ourselves and often the world around us, then we've become fucking tools. And we don't want to be a tool, you guys. So jokingly, I said to somebody one day, I was talking with, I talk with a lot of people. I talk with a lot of people because a lot of people, well, actually, because I'm a spiritual mentor, so I talk to people all the time. Like, that's my job. But I also talk to a lot of other people who are like my friends, and somebody might be lamenting about something. And I remember one time talking to somebody, and they were talking about social media and how they just felt so betrothed into it. Is that a word? Betrothed? I'm making that up. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they felt like they had to use it. And I said, look, here's the deal. And I don't usually use this word. And I don't almost ever say this phrase. So I thought it was so funny that it came out of my mouth. But I think what happened is my spiritual team had me say it this exact way because it was going to land for that other person. Because I was surprised even when I said it. And I was like, wow, I don't usually say that. I mean, I swear all the time, but I don't usually say this particular thing. And what I said to this person was like, look, you've got to make, like, social media is using you right now. You've got to make social media your bitch. I'm like, you've got to make social media your bitch, right? Because right now you're being used by it. And so if you ever go to my website, on my homepage, the very first thing that it says on my homepage is, look, everybody's got a story to tell, and telling stories is a fucking blast. Until your stories start to tell you, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not lovable. And I say the same thing about alcohol. If you're going to choose to have a beverage refreshment, an adult beverage refreshment, if you're going to choose to have some whiskey, you better be deciding to use the whiskey and to have the whiskey, and the whiskey better but not be having you. And I feel the same way about social media. If you're going to be on social media, if you're going to participate, and if you're going to use it, I really want to start to encourage you to use it as a means of self-expression rather than as a tool or a means for you to get feedback about your value as a human being, right? Whatever happens on social media has nothing to do with you being valuable, with you being worthy, with you being lovable. Because here's the thing, AKA algorithms, AKA different times of day, just whatever. There's going to be a time when you might post something and for whatever reason, a lot of people just won't see it. And if it's really important to you, if it's something like something that you're launching or something that you're excited about or a fundraiser for a friend that's having a tough time, I just tell people, delete it and repost it at another time and see if it gets a little more traction. It doesn't mean that you're not loved. It doesn't mean that your content wasn't important. I post shit all the time and it might get 1 like, and then I'll post something else and it gets 148 likes. And I don't feel any differently about myself based on that. It's just, to me, it's more of an experiment. It's like, oh, that's interesting. So I guess Wednesday, I'm just making this up. Like, I guess Wednesday at 10 a.m. or whatever isn't a great time to post something. Or I guess, hey, Tuesday night at this time seems to work, or whatever it is. But don't attach your self-worth to social media, because if you do that, you are going to fucking suffer. And I was laughing because somebody, I've seen so many people like making these big announcements, like, I'm leaving social media for a week or a month or a year. Like, they have to make this big announcement to let everybody know. And maybe it's just out of like, hey, I don't want people to worry, I'm not dead, like whatever. But the fact that we even have to do that, like, I gotta let everybody know I'm leaving. And it's so funny because I've been really busy lately. I've had my head down and focus and keeping my focus on shit that really, really matters to me, like my book and like my clients and all these things. And so I don't post on social media every single day. There are some days I'm way more active than others just because a bunch of stuff comes across my eyeballs and I'm like, or I hear something, I'm like, oh, that's so funny, or oh, I want to share that. That made me laugh, or oh, people need to wake up and check this out. So I always say that I use social media to either educate, elevate, or entertain. That's also the purpose of my podcast. It's like the heartbeat of everything that I do. I either want to share something helpful to educate people. I want to talk about something motivational or inspirational or something that moved me deeply, that inspires people so it elevates their spirit. Or I want to entertain and just make somebody laugh and try to make somebody, just be a helper and help somebody to have a good day, or make them chuckle, or make them look at something in a new way. Just something that lightens them, just enlightens, a little bit. So it's like, here's the thing. You don't need social media to confirm to you that you're lovable and worthy. Because if you expect that or you need that, you're going to be screwed. Like, you're going to be screwed. And I always say that, like, if you already like yourself, it doesn't matter how many likes you get. If you already like yourself, it doesn't matter how many likes you get on social media. You will not be at the mercy of the weather and the shifting tides of people's attention span or what they have a bandwidth for that day. Do you know what I'm saying? If you already like yourself, then you have built-in stabilizers that so your boat won't get rocked no matter how choppy the water gets out there. Do you hear what I'm saying? So this is why I like daily spiritual practices and stuff. Like if you're going to go on social media a lot, I highly encourage you to double down on your daily spiritual practices so that you get some inner stabilizers in place. Inner peace, happiness, self-worth, self-love, knowing you're one of God's kids, knowing that who you are and what you are does not change based on what the external world tries to tell you about yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? And if you start to develop a codependency, if you start to have a codependent relationship with social media, yes, they did make it addictive. And B, you have free will in your own mind and you're an adult and you can cut the cord anytime you want to. So it's not social media's fault if you start to get creepily codependent. If you and the Facebook start to get a little too cozy, you might want to take a look at that because it's just a platform. It's just a tool. So it's how you choose to use social media, right? It's like you have to use it. You can't let it use you. And so just try to think about like, you know, how do I want my relationship with these platforms to look? What do I really want to use them for? And, you know, okay, so the other day, so I wasn't on social media for like a day or two or whatever. And a friend said to me, and this was actually really, really sweet. A friend wrote to me or let me know that another friend had been concerned because they didn't see me online. And they're like, oh, is KK okay? She hasn't really posted anything. And I was laughing because not only was I okay, I was fucking psyched. I've been doing this experiment where I've been staying off of social media at very particular times or times of the day, or literally just chucking my phone, well, not throwing, but placing or putting my phone across the room when I'm trying to keep my head down and focused on my creative life. And I'm just like, okay, phone's out. And I've been practicing like putting my phone down at like 8:30 at night or 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night and just not looking at it again and shutting it off, which is unheard of for me because I stay up late. People who know I'm a night owl, I stay up late. And you could literally, I've had friends call me at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, hey, what's up? You know? But now I'm like, look, I'm going to try to start to unplug earlier in the evening and try to get more sleep because writing a book takes a lot of energy. Hey, in case you didn't know, writing a book and doing these things takes a lot of energy. So, and coaching people and holding space and trying to create a safe space in the world for people who've had a lot of trauma and tragedy. You know, it takes some metaphysical and mystical and like mojo. And so meditation and prayer and like writing and these creative things and all these things that mean so much to me, they have to come first. So I've been unplugging, right? So finally, and we're back. My whole point being is that somebody was concerned about me because they didn't see me online. And I started talking about this and I was saying, well, I don't need to be online to like feel like I've been seen or to feel like I don't need that. I don't need that online connection the way that other people do. You know, I was a kid, like I'm 50 now. So I'm in that generation that straddles the two worlds. Like I'm the kid who grew up before we even had answering machines, before we even had double lines. I mean, you used to call somebody's house and it was busy and that was it. You were shit out of luck. And then there was like call waiting, and then there was like answering machines, and then there were like beepers, and like it just kept going, right? And then it was like cell phones and answering services and like on and on and on. Now people expect to be able to fucking reach you at any time, and it's obsessive. And it's like if they can't get you on Voxa, they'll text you. And if they can't get you on text, they'll email you. If they can't do that, they'll send you a Facebook message. And if they can't get you on there, they'll IG message you. And if they can't get you on there, they'll call you. Like calling is like the last thing. People never even come to your house anymore. But that's a podcast for a whole of the day. My whole point being is that I don't rely on social media like to be seen or to feel like I'm important or to feel like I have value in the world. And so I was talking to somebody just today and I said to my friend, I said, remember that old saying, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there, to hear it doesn't even make a sound. And she's like, yeah. I go, I think right now people have this fear that if they don't post on social media, it's like, if you don't post on social media, do you even exist? Right? Do you even exist? And I know so many people who have a love-hate relationship with social media, and they're like, I just want to get off it. And I'm like, why don't you? And they're like, because it would be like, I would just disappear. My brand, like people would forget about me. People would forget about me. And I thought, oh my God, man, this is an epidemic. This is epidemic level. Like we're in big trouble. If we feel like we need social media to have value, then we've already lost a little bit of ourselves. Like we're already in trouble. So here's the thing. If you don't post on social media, yes, you do still exist. If you don't post on social media, you still have value and your brand is good. But unfortunately, it's one of the ways that we let others know, right, about the things that are near and dear to us. And I remember when Facebook first started, it was really about connecting with old friends, letting people across the country see your pictures and your day-to-day happenings. And then it just became like Facebook ads and everybody's selling shit and everybody's coaching you all the time and everybody's doing all this stuff. And look, I know sometimes I post a lot of stuff that is what I would call kind of instructive, right? Instructive. And it would be like, hey, you know, if this is the problem, like try this or do this, right? I always try to, as funny as it sounds, like I try to be helpful and I try to add value. That's what's interesting to me. If I'm going to be on these platforms, again, I want to entertain, I want to elevate, I want to educate, I want to enlighten. That's like really what I want to do. So here's the thing. Don't be looking out there for your value and your self-worth. Social media 90% of the time does not equal like self-worth, meaning I would say 100% of the time. But what I'm saying is sometimes you can share something and it's really powerful and it goes viral or something for a good reason. So I don't want to say like it's not valuable sometimes, because sometimes you'll post something and you will get a lot of loving support and it will make you feel a little bit better. But you can't be looking for it there. The self-worth piece has to start from the inside out. And if you're looking out there, because here's the thing, you guys, as soon as you go online, as soon as you have an online presence, what's required of you, what it's going to mean is that it's going to cost you like vulnerability. As soon as you do that, you're vulnerable. And you're vulnerable to other people's opinions. You're vulnerable to other people's thoughts. You're vulnerable to other people's dickish comments. You know, I tend to be the kind of person that posts things that sometimes everybody can get on board with. Oh my God, that cute little video of the dog. Like, we love that. Oh my God, baby goats, right? We love that. I also can post some things that are polarizing. I can be very opinionated. I can be very direct in the way that I say things or share things. And I don't back down just because you disagree with me. But I'm not looking for a fight either. I mean, especially as a vegan, and as a person who has somebody she loves running for president, who just kind of part of my job, you know, Henry James, a great writer, has this quote. I say it all the time. As a writer and as a spiritual mentor, as a human on the planet, he says, try to be the kind of person upon whom nothing is lost. So I try to pay deep attention to what's happening around me in the world. And sometimes I comment on this. And a lot of people, it makes me vulnerable in a way. I'm not saying I'm being so vulnerable by posting this. What I mean is it makes me open to other people's attacks. It makes me open to other people coming at me hard with their opinions. It makes me open for people name calling and saying fucked up stuff, especially as a vegan. And it's so hysterical because I don't go on other people's pages, other friends' pages who post ridiculous, stupid, ignorant things and say, and start a fight with them on their page. Because it's like, if you drank that Kool-Aid, I can usually tell who fully drank the Kool-Aid. And I'm like, not worth my time, not going there. This person is convinced that they're right. There's no wiggle room to actually have a discussion, even a discussion that might end in let's agree to disagree. But people are really bold and fucking ballsy to the max sometimes. And they come on my page and they try to start like coming at, I'm like, it's my page. So I can post whatever I want. So if you want to come on my page looking for a fight, right? So all of a sudden what I'm saying is if you're going to be on social media, you're going to end up in some levels being vulnerable. You're swinging open the door. You're inviting in sometimes some sources that are not actually welcomed, are not going to be kind, are not going to be respectful, but you can't take it personally. That's the whole thing. Like, I just don't make social media like, if I'm posting something that's important to me, it's already important to me. So somebody else not thinking it's important, or somebody else making fun of it, or somebody else being a dick, at some level, people are like, doesn't it bother you? And I'm like, no, it just shows me who they are. It shows me their limited capacity to love or forgive or to think, right? So many people post really like stupid, racist, ignorant shit. And that stuff, like, I will not back down from. I'm like, look, we're going to go there, but mostly I'll just delete you. I'm like, boop, power of the delete button, boop, power of the delete button. But it doesn't make me feel any different about me. Again, when you already like yourself, you don't need to get likes or be liked on social media, right? I already have an internal system of strength, knowing that I'm a child of God and that God walks with me. My spiritual team walks with me. I know who walks beside me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't need numbskulls. I don't need knuckleheads, ignorant, closed-minded, shallow, fucking, I don't care what the fucking trolls think. You know, I'm not curious about that. I'm not interested in that. So here's what I want to say. One of the things I talk about with people in spiritual mentoring is developing daily spiritual practices. And I'm talking about this because it's important. Like, if you're going to make yourself vulnerable, and if you're going to go on social media, and if you're going to be putting stuff out there on a daily basis, you had better shore yourself up. You had better have some good, what's the word I'm looking for? Not structure, buildings. My uncle's in construction. What's it called? Scaffolding, maybe. You better have some strong structure and inner scaffolding. And this is what social media gives you. It's the difference between, I think somewhere in the Bible, and I haven't read the Bible. I've seen snippets of it. I've read snippets of it, but I've never read the whole thing. So I might be getting this wrong, but I seem to have a sense of a memory of somewhere in the Bible it's saying you want to build your house on rock and not on sand. And I really feel like when you have daily spiritual practices that put you in touch with the part of your mind that has never left God, the part of your mind that's not insane, when you really start to tap into your spiritual team and the wisdom and the remembrance of God's love, you are building your house. You are building your life. When you have strong faith in love and forgiveness and compassion and kindness and oneness and unity, when you build your house on that and not on the foundation of the ego, which is all scarcity and separation and smallness and sickness and sin and suffering, right? That's like building your house on sand. But with social media, it's worse than that. So you have to build your house on rock. If you build your house on social media, it's like building your house on quicksand, because you can get sucked down so deeply and so quickly because you're interacting with so many others. And my brilliant mentor, as I would say, my mentor, Andre Dubus III, he's a beautiful and beloved friend. He's also my writing mentor. And he says this very powerful thing in an essay he wrote. And he said, social media is basically like cultivating, it's curating the museum of me. It's very self-important and self-focused. And it's like, if you're going to keep being like me, look at my pictures, look at my stuff, look at my thing, look at my thing, look at what I'm doing, look at blah, 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 you are putting yourself, not only are you curating the museum of me, which is awesome, but you're also opening yourself up for people to take shots at you. You're also obviously opening yourself up for people to celebrate you and to see you and to support you. But look, it's a fucking game. And this is what I always tell people. Social media is a game. And I'm going to play it my way. So people are going to come at you and tell you how you're supposed to do social media, right? There's all these strategies. There's all these things you got to do social media. This is how you build the perfect post. Fucking please already. Like, I just want to bang my face off of sharp objects when I hear that, right? It's all a game, you guys. This whole world is a classroom. It's all a big game. You just have to play it your way, and you have to play it in a way that feels genuine, authentic, and true and real, so that you're just using these things to self-express and to connect. And you're not trying to use them to get something, that you don't need them to reflect back to you your value, your worth and who you are. Because who you are is just simply a child of God. Who you are is love expressing itself through the tool of this meat puppet, this spirit sausage, this body, right? And so it's kind of like, okay, I'm not going to use social media as a way to validate myself, right? Because if you're already validated, you can go out and post and do all this stuff and not get hooked, right? So it's actually fun. So the game is fun and you're just moving the pieces around the board and having a good time. And it's more like an experiment and you're collecting data and you're like, this is fascinating, and you share that and you do that. But it does not, you don't waver inside. You know what I mean? And this is like so important. Like, I really want you guys to hear this. Like, build your house on rock, not sand. And social media is like building your house on quicksand. So don't use it as an indicator, because it's all external. It's all external. And truly, it's a platform that can't always fully capture the essence or the heartbeat or the meaning of things. And so it can be a very shallow way to connect. And it's like, you know, like I said, use it for something fun. Use it as a way to uplift each other, to share with each other, to educate with each other, you know, and but don't let it be a way that like, don't use social media as a weapon. Don't use it as another way to beat yourself up. Don't go looking for yourself on Facebook. You're not going to find it there, right? I mean, you can look back. I look back now too, like, cause you know, like in memories, and I'll see shit that comes up from like 2012, 2010, 2008. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I just laugh. I'm like, oh my God, I've changed so much. So it's just a tiny snapshot of a much bigger, beautiful portrait in picture, right? So we don't get to capture our full selves there. So it's really easy to be misunderstood. It's really easy to misunderstand. And it's not the best way to get it's a terrible way to get your needs met, by the way. Oh, crack myself up. All right, so look, couple of pointers. Let's like cycle back, okay? Don't let your self-worth or your security rise and fall with your social media stats. They have nothing to do with one another. If you're letting social media, it's supposed to be a tool. Social media is a tool. And if you're letting social media dictate to you how you feel about yourself, then you become the tool. You've got to make social media your bitch. You've got to use social media in a way that feels congruent and in alignment, like boom, in alignment. It has to be an authentic and genuine expression. Use it to have a lot of fun. Keep in mind, this shit is addictive. It's addictive on purpose because they want to keep you engaged. So make sure you take time, set rules for yourself, set boundaries for yourself. Because if you're trying to write, you're trying to create, you're trying to do something that the world really needs, don't get distracted by other people's shit. Don't waste your life scrolling. Don't do it. Put the thing down. People have that fear, right? If you don't post it every day, it's like, do I even exist? Yes, you exist. You don't need social media to prove to you that your life has value and worth. You know, just don't do it. It's just a platform. You use it. Don't let it use you. Use it in a way that helps you. Like I always say, mine is like educate, entertain, elevate, to enlighten. You do it however you want to do it, but know why you do it. Every time you go to post, check yourself before you wreck yourself. If you're going to post and you find yourself using all these filters because you don't like the way that you look and you're manipulating the post to make you sound a certain way, or you have to go like, oh my God, vulnerable raw post. It's like, nope, right? Know why you're doing what you're doing. Know what you're doing and why you're posting. And if you're looking for, if you can even sniff an ounce of neediness, an ounce of hoping you get a particular reaction, or you're not going to post because you don't think it will be that popular. Like if you're manipulating yourself based on what you think the post is going to get, you be fucking so suspicious of that. Number one, that's all I want to say. If you already like yourself, it doesn't matter how many likes you get on social media. It's not necessary. Please don't be looking outside of yourself. Don't be looking out there online for your value. Trust me, you are lovable. You are worthy. You are beautiful. You have, like, you matter, okay? You already matter. Just know too, part of the deal is if you're going to go online and have a presence, you're going to be vulnerable to other people's bullshit. And again, the last final thing, I've said it 4 times now, build your house on rock and not sand. And social media is like quicksand. Okay. I would love to hear from you guys. How this landed for you, what you thought about it, what your experiences with social media has been. Have you found that it's changed you? Has it made you more brave? Has it made you more fearful? Like, what's your experience been with it? Because I really do. People, almost every episode, I get feedback from folks. And sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's 7 people. But I love hearing from you guys. I love having connection, right, with you. I don't do this just to talk. Well, you know, whatever. But I don't do this just to talk to myself like a little weirdo. Woo, I'm starting to sweat. Up in my closet. I do this for genuine connection because I love connecting with you beautiful people. And some of you already might know about this, but I'm just going to use it to do another shout out. One of the other things I'm hoping to do to self-express and to connect is the Sunday Spiritual. And we're going to have our first one coming up on Sunday, August 18th at 7 p.m. online. It's a Zoom call. But in order to get the link to join us, we already have you guys 124, it might be 25 now. We might have 125 people who have joined us, who are signed up, who are ready to go. August 18th. And even if you can't be on person on that call, there's a 48-hour replay. So still make sure that you sign up so that you can get the link to the replay and you can find out what happened on the very first, the Sunday Spiritual with KK. It's going to be a great time. I'm really excited. It's a free thing. It's a free thing. And it's an awesome opportunity to just join together with others in spiritual fellowship and spiritual community, contemplative community. And it's going to be awesome. So I really hope you'll join us. And the way you do that is you can just go to my website, Kenney, KENNEY.com/Sunday Spiritual. And you'll see the link. You'll get the landing page. You sign up. You'll be good to go. So thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for supporting me. For those of you guys who have left amazing reviews and comments and everything on iTunes, I appreciate it so much. For those of you that have been sharing, I can't tell you what it means to me when one of you writes to me and says, hey, I forwarded this episode to my sister-in-law or my cousin or whoever, coworker, and they love the show and they listen now too, and we talk about it. Like, it just bringing people's hearts and minds together, man. Like, let the healing begin. Like, that lights me up so much. So just thank you for all of your support, you guys. I appreciate you so much. And I see you and I feel you and I hear you and I celebrate you and I love you. And wherever you go, may you be a blessing. Okay, you guys. Bye. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Karen Kenney Show. I super duper appreciate your time, friendship, and support. And look, if something that I shared from my heart today somehow landed in yours, I'd love to hear about it. So please tag me on Facebook or Instagram or IG stories or wherever the cool kids are hanging out these days. And let me know what your favorite part was or what you found most helpful. You can find me over at Karen Kenney Live. That's Karen, KENNEYLIVE. And if you're digging what I'm saying and you want to hear more, I'd be wicked grateful if you could go to iTunes and subscribe and leave a review, because you guys, that's how you'll help me to keep spreading the love. And if you can think of someone that could benefit from hearing this episode, please share it with them. I'd also love to stay connected with you. So if the feeling is mutual, please go to KarenKenney.com/freebie and download my free guide to building your spiritual team. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, keep living in the fearless flow. Know that I see you, I appreciate you, and I love you. And wherever you go, may you be a blessing.